Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Blerded Out here on YouTube. Anybody who knows me knows that I am a huge fan of what's termed as the Filipino invasion of the 1970s in American comics. That period was just so fertile with, all of these artists coming from the Philippines and coming over to the United States and primarily working with publisher DC Comics on a lot of their anthology titles and genre titles, like their horror, westerns, war titles, and mystery titles. And it was just an unbridled period of creativity and just absolutely gorgeous artwork. And I'm such a huge fan of that whole period and of most of the artists that are inside of that were inside of that movement. And I just can't get enough. And amongst those artists, for me, there's a personal trinity of artists that just do it for me. Foremost, and in no particular order, it's Nestor Redondo, Alfredo Alcala, and the subject of this episode, Alex Nino. Now, Nino does it for me on so many levels. On one level, his art is just is extraordinary. He is one of the great unsung visionaries of comics. He's right up there with Mobius or a Richard Corbin and quite a few others. But it's a rarefied pantheon, someone who's able to just, once you look at their art, you're looking at it totally through their lens and getting a peek inside of their world. And his art just does that for me. So on this episode, I really wanted to share, my love and passion for his work, briefly, and just show some of the collection that I have of his work, and it's ever growing and ever burgeoning. So come on, let's take a look. First off, what really gave me the impetus to start collecting a lot of Nino's work, and moreover, a lot of the Filipinos artists' work, is this particular issue of Comic Book Artist. It's number 4, and it's cover dated September of 2004. And this book right here, this is like my 3rd copy of this particular issue. I've given my previous copies away, and I've always gotten a copy back because this is a Bible to me in terms of, my love and passion for the Filipino comics. It's a whole issue devoted not only to Nino, but also the history of Philippine comics. There's a great resource in here that names over 100 Filipino artists from that period and all of their works and so forth. But for Nino, for me, this actually was essential because it has a full-length interview with the man. And I remember getting a copy of this off the shelf when I worked in a comic shop back in 2004 when it premiered, and I instantly fell in love with this work. Now, I'd heard of Nino beforehand, but this article and this magazine in particular just fueled my passion. And it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. The artwork that they have contained in here, along with the article, is fantastic. So, first off, you definitely need to hunt down a copy of this Comic Book Artist issue number 4, cover dated 2004. Check it out. I also, at a convention a few years ago, I was able to get my hands on some actual Filipino comics, straight from the motherland, as it was, But yeah, these are original Filipino comics. I think one is cover dated April 1971, and yeah, they're both April 1971. I never noticed that. That's pretty cool. Excellent. But the reason I got these are they have examples of not only Nino's work, but also the work of, countless others as well. Redondo, there's some Alcala in here. But as I related, I am focusing on Nino for this particular episode. And can see inside here, inside of United Comics, here's some of Nino's work from the Philippines. And ostensibly, this is right before he came over here to start work. And I don't think he was actually over here. He may have still been in the Philippines when he started with DC. But this is some of his original comics work. And you have a slice of life comic that he was doing. Now, he's known more for his science fiction and fantasy stuff, but this just shows right here that he's doing all types of work. He can do slice of life. He can do really anything. And what I love about it is like, check out this lettering here. Check out this. He did his own lettering in terms of the titles. I love this. I love this. This is so, rich and just thick, and, it's so well crafted. You can feel the handicraft in it. And, that's what I really admire about that, but yeah, so that's my original Filipino comics with some of Nino's work. I have tear sheets of Nino's work. Once I started getting into, finding more about his actual comics work that he did here, once he started working with DC, I was ravenous. I'm still ravenous, just about getting a lot of that stuff. So what I've done over the years is I've actually bought old back issues. Yes. Actual back issues, and I've taken an X-Acto blade and just sliced and diced them and just cut out my own tear sheets for Alex Nino. And in these two packages, this is all Nino's work, all Nino comic strips. And what I plan on doing eventually is getting these actually bound, but look at this. I mean, they smell, and they smell wonderful too. That newsprint, that aging newsprint. I mean, this stuff is fantastic, just fantastic. His stuff looks great in newsprint, as did a lot of these comics, Filipino artists. Just their inking really held up, extremely well under newsprint technology. And, I've been collecting them, very fervently for years now. So, I keep adding to, my tear sheets here every time, I come across his work on my checklist, and I just cut it out and add it to my bag here. And in my other bag, I believe this is all of his Captain Fear story. And this is a story that was in Adventure Comics. I think it ran from Adventure Comics 425 to issue 432 or 433, if I'm not mistaken. And I did the same thing. I bought those back issues as I could find them and afford them. And I just cut out the Captain Fear stuff. And, the beautiful thing about Captain Fear is, it's a complete little epic. And I can't say enough about this work. I mean, it's raw and just, so energetic. And the thing about Nino's work is how much it's very shape oriented in terms of, he does rendering, but a lot of his work, especially in his 70s work with DC and other things, is very just shape oriented in terms of, it's very designed, how everything occupies its own space. And you can definitely see that here in a lot of his panel arrangements and the way certain design elements, really collude with one another to really form interesting compositions and shapes. So, Captain Fear is, one of my favorite pieces by him. So definitely check that out if you get a chance. To my knowledge, they've never reprinted it, so you would have to go get those original back issues. And the other cool thing is, well, back here on my bookshelf, here we go, and Witching Hour and Weird War Tales. These are a godsend. If you are definitely looking to get into any of the Filipino artists, including Nino, check these out. These are actually reprints, black and white reprints of a lot of that Filipino work from the 1970s. And I believe in here, there should be a couple of Nino stories. Like I mentioned, a lot of those Filipino artists did work on, the war anthologies for DC, as well as the mystery and horror anthologies. So, if you're looking for, really crisp black and white examples of Nino's work from this time, you may want to check out these DC Showcase Presents phone books. There are several volumes. I have more back here. And I'm hoping to get the rest at a convention soon. And these are just wonderful. So definitely check these out as well if you get a chance, if you want crisp examples of Nino's work in black and white. And next we move right along to Warren Comics. And Warren was a publisher in the early to late 70s that really had quite a foothold on black and white magazines. And this is one of the magazines that Nino was doing work for with Warren. It's 1984. And he also had a subsequent edition called 1994. Now keep in mind, these books were actually published in 1978. So, it's one of those things where, they call it 1984. I guess to give it more credence or whatnot in terms of just sounding futuristic. But Nino had work in these, as well as Creepy and Eerie, and a couple of other books, magazines rather, for Warren. And, the stuff that he was doing for Warren is obviously in black and white. So you're getting, this really neat stuff, like these interesting panel compositions. Here's a whole story that he did in 1984, issue 4. And it's all sideways, or landscape rather, I should say. And just cool stuff. Just cool stuff. Just stuff that you never really did see a lot of. And this is the first issue of 1984, and he had a story in here as well. And once again, really utilizing this landscape format, which I just think is very interesting. Look at the detail on this surgeon room here, and all the surgeons and everything. Look at that. So it's just beautiful stuff. Just so expressive. And he's using what is referred to as, I've heard it, there's a duo tint and duo tone. It's a type of board that you have a certain chemical that is included with it that you had to purchase. They no longer make this type of board, but you would apply the liquid, the solution to this board, and you would get these patterns to show up, and you can use that to indicate shading and all types of stuff. And this is stuff that was for newsprint technology, and I love it. I love it. And it's one of the rare examples I'd actually seen Nino actually use, some type of pattern or print, in his work. So that's really cool. Now he's done like several little projects, smaller projects for publishers. Just briefly here, I have a few books called Young Master that he did for, I believe this is NCG. This is New Comics Group. It was a story called Young Master that he did. This one here, Demon Blade, is pretty cool. It's him using markers. Now this is before like markers and wash really came into vogue in comics. This is dated, I believe, 1989. And, he's up here using, some type of wash or markers here, So he's already, seeing into the future as far as comics and everything. It's cool. It's real cool. And he also did, this is later, much later, in the 2000s, he did a series called Dead Ahead. First it was for Image, and then I believe the first 2 issues came out, but that 3rd issue did not come out, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure someone will correct me. But all 3 issues were finally collected in a paperback through Acme Inc. And this is some of Nino's like really just coolest work. I mean, look at that. Look at like just how shape oriented it is, and you know how just it's not detailed just for detail's sake, and it's so expressive. You know, I mean, it's really cool, and it's a very, you know, just creepy story, but so energetic. I love it. I love it. It's awesome. So definitely check that out. And lastly, I wanted to show off what I consider one of my pride and joys. I was so happy when I got a copy of this. It's so cool. Nino came out with a book, an art book, a couple of years ago called Art Quest, the Art Quest of Alex Nino. And I knew I had to have it. I knew I had to have it. Now, he printed these up himself, so you know it's definitely a bit expensive. Not terribly so, but a bit expensive. But it was totally worth it. And the coolest thing about this is, not only did he sign it here, but check this out. He also included an actual sketch. And it's personalized to me, to Adrian. It's signed by Mr. Nino himself. This is one of my joys here. This is one of the books that I really treasure because I love Nino's work so much. And it's just a collection of all of his personal pieces that he's done over, I'd say, the last few years prior to this book. And so you got Copic marker work, you have colored pencil work in here, and it's just marvelous. Look at this, just beautiful stuff. And you have some of his landscape pieces. I don't think these are from like his animation projects or anything like that, but no, just beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, just wonderful. It's just so wonderful. So, yeah, that's Art Quest of Alex Nino. Well, hey, look, guys, that's all I have time for. I hope you appreciated this very abbreviated look at Alex Nino's work, and I hope, you know, that'll be fuel enough for you to go out and investigate his work on your own and definitely get into it. And hey, if you like what you see here, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube, and check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Inazuma Studios. Catch you guys later.